Now, letting grass and wildflowers grow is an important way of helping nature. But if you're a dog owner, be warned, because long grass can pose risks to your pets.
Yeah, the broadcaster Chris Packham had to rush his dog Nancy to the vets twice after grass seeds got stuck in her eye. As you might be able to see from the picture, but you're about to find out from the report, she now has a new accessory to help keep her out of bother, as Joe Kent has been finding out.
Come on then, Nat.
When you're out with the dog, there are things you need, like a lead and poo bags to pick up.
Let's put these on.
But Chris Packham's dog, Nancy, now has an extra bit of kit. Chris, why has Nancy got to wear the goggles?
Well, in the summer we don't cut the grass here, but it does mean that you've got a lot of grass seed. And what we found with Nancy is that first she got one stuck in her ear, which luckily we found and we were able to take it out, but that could have been a problem. And then, remarkably, she got two stuck in her eye, one after the other.
It was clear something was wrong, but they weren't sure what.
Her eye was inflamed and clearly sore, it was weeping. She was becoming increasingly distressed. And it was only when we took it to the vets, they got a cotton wool bug and put it right down inside the eye. I mean, the depth was remarkable, and then pulled out the first grass seed.
Chris has kept one of the seeds.
None of that was visible. That had gone all the way down into the very bottom of her eye, where it would have undoubtedly become infected and potentially she would have lost her eye.
The specialist who treated Nancy is currently seeing a couple of cases a week. She recommends owners check their dogs after they've been in long grass.
I'll lift the ears, make sure there is nothing in ears embedded down there. I would check the eyes, making sure they are nice and open, and I will check each paw in between the fingers and from the bottom as well. The common areas are also armpits and groins as well.
If left, it can be serious. Grass seeds have barbs and can work their way further into the body. Sometimes a CT or MRI scan is needed to find them.
It can travel through the armpits, through the abdominal cavity, or through the chest into the organs as well, like into the liver or heart.
That can be complex and costly to treat. Prevention is better than cure, which is why Nancy was recommended her eyewear.
If you've got a dog which is charging through long grass and that's how it likes to play, then I would seriously consider getting some of those safety glasses. Right, now you can go in the grass. I was very sceptical and I thought this is ridiculous, but ultimately I'd rather have a dog with two perfectly functional eyes than a dog that had lost one of them.
Hopefully they'll prevent a third visit to the vet.
Nancy looks very cool in her protective goggles. Joe Kent was with that report. We're going to talk to veterinary surgeon Sinead Bennett. She's here. Her dog Cloda is here, although Cloda's kind of
She's having a nice little sniff around.
Yeah, she's
Look at
exploring her surroundings.
She's a little Manchester Terrier. She's absolutely lovely. So this was something I was not and should be aware of as a dog owner, particularly because we live somewhere fairly rural, so surrounded by fields, always running through long grass. Is it an issue that you see much in your clinic?
So, yeah, we don't see, because we're based in inner city Salford, so we don't see a huge amount here. However, again, for those that are living in the more rural areas and certainly on coastal areas, anywhere where there's long grass and lots of it. So actually, as Chris said in his thing, it's where you see people maybe leaving the grasses longer than they used to and things like that, then yes, you do see grass seeds can be quite a problem. And I know some vets who remove as many as 6 to 8 a day in this.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
And you don't realise, I certainly didn't realise, just how dangerous they are with barbs on them so that they can hook to things.
That's right. They have a little bit like a fish hook. They've got a little barb on them so they can hook onto the skin around, very commonly the ears and stuff. Sometimes they can inhale them, and occasionally, if they're left to their own devices and we don't act quickly with them, they can migrate through the body so they can end up in the lungs.
I mean, that's horrific. How does that actually happen? They penetrate the skin in some way, do they?
Yes, so because they're quite sharp on the end, they so the dogs can step on them or they go into the skin, and then the body will try to eject them because it recognises them as a foreign body. However, sometimes the body can get confused and push it in the wrong direction, and so you can literally have them travelling all the way up the leg into the chest. And then I do know of one dog where it travelled through the chest and into the abdomen as well. So yes, they can cause real problems. for some dogs.
How do you recognise that a dog has got a grass seed somehow, that's got an issue with it?
The most common things that we see...
If you can't see it,
well, yes, there's the most common things that we see. So if you've got any kind of sudden onset, head shaking, sneezing, if they suddenly get a very sore eye, then, or you see a sudden lump appear around a paw, or even potentially at this time of year, you saw a sudden lump appear under the skin somewhere. If it happens quickly and it's there, then that could well be a grass seed, and it's really worth getting that checked.
And if you are aware of them having one in their eye, for example, is that something that you, as an owner, should ever try and extract, or should you always leave it to the vet?
Certainly not in the eye, so because the eye is obviously a very delicate structure, and so we really wouldn't advise that people try and take them out of the eye, and I would always get veterinary attention. And because of the way they hook in, sometimes they hook into the fur and become really painful. So a dog that maybe wouldn't snap at you otherwise, if you're trying to pull it out, it may turn round and try to bite you. So it's always worth getting them checked out. And sometimes if they're being sedated because you've maybe seen one somewhere, just make sure that your vet is checking the rest of their feet and their ears whilst they're sedated, and you're not just focusing on that one.
And as we saw in the report, Chris Packham's got Nancy wearing a pair of protective goggles, which look like quite a cool pair of sunglasses.
But I just wonder how the dog kind of copes with that, because they don't really like having things kind of attached to their faces.
They do seem to cope amazingly well. So at our practice, we offer laser therapy, and so, you know, it can be a completely new experience to a dog. They have to wear the eye protection for it. And, you know, kind of so far, we've not had any dogs that have really adversely responded to it. So actually, they seem to be quite happy for most dogs, that once they get them on their face and everything, that they're quite chilled with it.
Sorry, when you say laser therapy, is that laser for the eyes or for other parts of the body?
No, it's for other parts of the body, so arthritis and things like that, and it can help with wound healing post-operatively as well. So we use it for a range of things.
That was a thing.
Honestly, Cloda's just been the best behaved dog that I've ever seen in these studios.
She's not bothered.
So, in terms of exposure to grass seeds, not a major problem, but are there other hazards for urban dogs, particularly in the summer months, that you have to be aware of?
I mean, I suppose it's really, for urban dogs, it's potentially people dropping, you know, kind of things that they maybe shouldn't. So we do see some illicit drugs sometimes get dropped, and so you'll see dogs will accidentally ingest something like that.
Really?
So things like marijuana, they'll get very wobbly, and sometimes they have problems. They'll get.
Is that an increasing problem for you?
So we do see. I see a few a year, I would say, where you do see some dogs that have ingested some drugs. Yeah,
there's a little bit woo woo.
Yes,
it's not just dogs, of course, with relation to cat seed, because people got in touch earlier in the programme. Betty said a few years ago, my old cat got a grass seed up his nose. We noticed something sticking out of the top of his nose. We didn't know what it was until the vet told us. He had to have sedation to have it removed. I kept the seed to show my friends and family because they didn't believe me.
So be aware with cats as well.
Absolutely. So interestingly, I was just talking to one of my neighbours last night, and she said that her daughter's cat ended up with a grass seed migrated behind its jaw. It had to have its jaw broken by a vet to get to access the grass seed.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you to Cloda, who's been a delight as well.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.